Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the Burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And a good Thursday evening, everyone. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now and Keeneland.com. Welcome into the Keeneland Look Ahead, as this Thursday night program, dare I say, will preview the Friday the 13th card. And we're in the month of October, so put your costumes on, get the tricks, get the treats. Hopefully we've got some treats and more treats than tricks here tonight as we look at a 10-race Friday program that features the Sycamore Stakes. Among those in there, past champion of the turf, Eclipse Award winner, Channel Maker, amongst the horses on the card this Friday at Keeneland. Before we get into the program, give you the big picture look at all the multi-race wagers on Friday, our best bets, also the handicappers consensus from Keeneland.com of all the public handicappers that we have there for you. We're going to give you a quick recap of what happened on the racetrack Thursday. Great day for Tyler Gaffalione, the perennial leading rider, it seems like now at Keeneland. He's back on track. He didn't have a great opening weekend, but Tyler with 3 wins on the Thursday card, including one named Little Prankster, who for Phil Bauer won, I believe, for the 3rd time in a row, and now just looks like a horse destined for the stakes ranks. Little Prankster impressive today in the race 8 co-feature. Both co-features, the 8th and 9th, went to Gaffalione, one on the dirt, one on the turf. Big riding day for Tyler. I didn't think speed on the dirt was as good today, Thursday, as it was on Wednesday's card, when speed seemed to carry a little bit better. Again, we're kind of splitting hairs here with small sample sizes. It's not a very long meet to start with, but only one winner really truly on the front end through most of the card today at Keeneland on the front end. So horses didn't come from the absolute clouds, but speed's just not carrying like we've seen at Keeneland in some past meets, and like it did yesterday, quite frankly, on the Wednesday card. Kentucky Downs Preppers did well, 3 wins on the program, so those horses are doing well. Dirt, turf, take your pick, but good run for the Kentucky Downs horses. Among our best bets, Rungius, a horse who was 12-1 morning line for us, one of our key plays of the day. Great rally, came up the rail, just missed running second, beaten out by a dirty nose. So a good effort from Rungius, but we didn't get one of our top picks in today that we really needed. So hopefully we can get over the hump with one of our top picks on the Friday card. Let's take a look at the big picture and get you set for the Friday racing action at Keeneland, where first post, of course, will be 1 o'clock Eastern. Pick 5 will start in race number 1. Flip those around on the graphics. Shame on the graphics operator, which is me. Pick 5 begins in race number 1. The pick 4 begins in race number 2. So again, we'll flip-flop those around. Pick 5 begins in race 1. Pick 4 begins in race 2 for the early. Pick 6 today will be races 5 through 10 for Friday racing. The turf pick 3, races 5, 7, and 9. We get to the back half of the card. The late pick 5 starts there in the 6th race. 7th on the card will kick off the late pick 4 and be part of that turf pick 3. The 9th race is our featured stakes race, the Sycamore, at 1.5 miles on the grass course. Also the final leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. We've got our key plays of the day in races 2, 5, and 7. And you'll notice 5 and 7 are part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. So when we've got 2 key plays amongst those 3 races, we're going to have to get involved in Keeneland Turf Pick 3 with the low takeout $3 minimum wager. That's going to line up nicely for us. We'll explain the headlines to you for those race 2, 5, and 7 key plays of the day as we get to each race individually. As we do here each night on the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast, we're going to give you the handicapper selectors box from Keeneland.com. You can go there and download that yourself in the handicapper section. Get the expert picks from Scott Hazelton, Tom Leach, myself, Kim Nelson, Caton Bradar. The 5 of us in the handicapper selectors box gives you a good sense of where prices may be found and where favorites may be found, because when we're in agreement, chances are we're going to land on horses that you are going to land on as the public as well. So let's go to the handicapper selectors box and get this 10-race Friday card started in style. Punctually, we'll go to the first with Punctuality. That's going to be my first pick in the opening race. Scott Hazelton also on this runner. Race number 1 on the card is a 1.125 claimer. So do you have a lot of confidence when you've got non-winners of 2 lifetime claimers going 9 furlongs? This is an extended trip. We don't see a lot of these at Keeneland over the years. You're looking for horses who are coming out of some route races. We really don't have a whole lot of sprint the route to toss in this particular spot. But I think Punctuality's got a shot in here because I like the sire, Union Rags. Does very well with the offspring running on the main track here at Keeneland, and particularly the 9 furlong races. Union Rags has sired 3 winners at 9 furlongs on the main track at Keeneland. 2 of those in the claiming ranks like this class, 1 in the maiden claiming. So we're not talking about horses running in the spinster and the bluegrass at a 1.125. These kind of everyday ham and eggers that are running in the claiming ranks by Union Ranks have done pretty well at the 1.125 trip, and that's why I'm on the 2 in here, Punctuality. This is a 3-year-old taking on older horses. That's not necessarily a positive, but when you're talking non-winners of 2 lifetime, the older horses have had plenty of chances to get past this first level condition and haven't done it. With Punctuality, you're only looking at 6 career starts, so not a lifetime maiden. The other thing with the 3-year-old taking on elders is you get a 4-pound weight break, and at a 1.125 with cheaper horses, $20,000 non-winners and 2 claimers, I'll take the 4 pounds. So we'll see if Rodriguez can get a good trip from the 2 holes. Should be able to save ground. I'm on the 2 Punctuality in the opener, but my level of confidence when we are talking about 1.125 non-winners at 2 lifetime, not very high. So it's not going to be on my 3 key plays of the day, obviously, as we set up our key plays on this program. One particular Harbor, the outside horse in here, interesting runner going turf to dirt. I don't mind a surface change at all. When we look at these cheaper horses in the longer distance races at Keeneland, surface changes have been fairly successful at this class level going along. Of the 22 races we've seen at 9 furlong claimers run at Keeneland, 10 of the winners were making surface changes for the most recent start. So one particular Harbor going turf to dirt. We've got a couple others in here making those kind of surface changes. Don't be afraid of that. It could actually be a positive in today's opening race. Let's look across the board and see what our other public handicappers have. Scott also has the 2. Apollo Rising, the top choice by everybody else in here, though. Apollo Rising, a horse I marked as usable, I should say, but not among my top 3. A good second place finish, won by DQ then in that race here in the spring meet. One of those where probably would have been best if not for the DQ. So a put up there for the only career victory. I'm not so sure about blinkers off this one, though. It's shown speed and faded. Taking the blinkers off, if this horse doesn't have speed, I don't know what his weapon is. So I'm going to be against Apollo Rising in this particular spot where our other handicappers are on that one. Let's see how it shakes out in race number 1. But like I said, there is not a large degree of confidence. Race number 2 kicks off the early pick 4. It's a maiden claiming race going 6 furlongs on the main track. Now, these maiden claiming races for 2-year-olds are different than what we see with the 3-year-olds and up with as far as the maiden claimers go. If you're putting a 2-year-old in a maiden claiming race right off the bat, there's really not a lot of confidence in that particular runner, right? You wouldn't want to put a 2-year-old up for a tag if you thought much of them. That's why when you look at these races for 2-year-old maiden claimers at Keeneland in the fall, we've had 49 of them. Only 10 first-time starters have won. 39 or 29 or 39 of the 49 have been won by horses who had experience prior. So I wouldn't look for a first-time starter to be the one to get it done for me in this race. I'd look for a horse with a little experience in race number 2. So who might that be? Let's go to our picks here in the handicapper selectors box. I've got Kobe W, and I'm not completely on the island because Tom Leach has that one second, but that's the only mentions of Kobe W in here. This is a horse who got bet decently in a 10-horse field, was 11-1 in the career debut at Ellis Park. That was on the turf going long. Now they add the blinkers on this son of Not This Time. So we've got to get out of the gate quicker, obviously, but the move to the dirt should help. Not This Time, one of the top sires on dirt here at Keeneland. And these races have been a good place. The maiden claiming 2-year-old races have been a good place to catch a price. Over the years, favorites only win these 30% of the time. That's about 8% under what you expect to see in today's racing game, 38% winning favorites overall. And the average winner of these races is 7.2 to 1. So that's a nice price on horses in these maiden claiming races for the 2-year-old. So I'm going to take a little shot with Kobe W, first-time blinkers. We also get first-time blinkers with my second choice in here, Augustine Red. Augustine Red is a horse who, for Eddie Keneally, also makes a turf to dirt switch. The pedigree there might say a little bit more towards the turf. Irish Warcry on top, Freud on the bottom. So I don't know if this one's going to handle the dirt per se, but Eddie Keneally does really good with maiden claiming horses here at Keeneland. And again, adding the blinkers and Luis Saez riding a little more hustling jockey on this one, blinkers on. You could see Augustine Red show some speed in here. Kobe W, Augustine Red, the two that I'm going to take in race number 2. Debt Paid, my third choice. Robertina Diodoro coming off a third place debut effort. A third horse in here adding blinkers. My top 3 all add blinkers. Debt Paid, the top pick for Kim and Scott. I think Debt Paid will end up the favorite in the race because of that third place finish in the debut. There's just a little bit more on the form there, and people are probably just going to trust the form of the third place finisher last time out and now adding blinkers versus some of the other horses who didn't show as much in the debut. But pedigree-wise, let's look for the 2, or the 7, I should say, in race number 2, Kobe W, to have a good effort. Third race on the program up next, and our third race on the card is a 7-furlong starter allowance race. We got starter allowance company in here going the 7-furlong distance. And across the board, Invaluable is the top choice by 4 of the 5 public handicappers. Joe Sharp trains Invaluable, who's had 3 career starts here at Keeneland, 1 win, 2 third-place finishes in those 3 efforts. So nothing wrong with that local record whatsoever, and nothing wrong with the current form of Invaluable. This is a horse, 2 wins in the last 4 starts, comes off a victory last time out, hard fought at Churchill for $25,000. Now it comes into the starter allowance ranks, but it's a starter 10, so you had to run for $10,000 or less at some point to be eligible. So actually coming out of 25 claimer, that might be a tougher spot than this starter 10,000 race. And Invaluable has been very successful here at Keeneland, 7-furlong starter allowance last year, won it. Been there, done that, in good form. Gaff Leon with the 3 wins on Thursday. Look for him to carry over maybe some success into the Friday card. Invaluable to me, a short price and a logical winner in race number 3. The other one in here who is in really good raging form is Samarita. Samarita is a horse who's won 5 straight races. Jose Rodriguez brings this one in from Illinois. Has been running at Hawthorne and Fandle Racing. Samarita will try to win 6 in a row, but I'm not necessarily going to trust the form from those locales taking on a horse who's also had really good form in Kentucky and in New York. So I'm going to be a little snobbish in that respect and take Invaluable on top. And for me, clearly the horse to beat in race number 3, a single if you're looking at the multi-race wagers for me in the first 4 or 5 opportunities. Let's go next to the 4th race on the card. 4th race on Friday is a 6-furlong optional claimer here, 2nd level allowance. And this is a good group in here. I've got a couple in here that I think got a chance to be pretty solid, including Gilchrist. Gilchrist is a horse, Crease is a horse with post number 2. And I think it's a good post for this runner because there's not a ton of speed to the inside. I don't think Frosted Departure is going to go barreling out of there. So I think we might be able to get out of the gate with the 2. Gilcrease is a horse you want to watch in here. Let's get this one home. Gilcrease from a good post. There's not going to be a lot of speed from the rail, and I think this horse will outbreak the rail horse and be able to get the position into the turn. Julian Leperoux rides, and there's only 5 in here, and that's why I talk about post and the way this race may unfold, because it's only a 5-horse field. That's a lot of cat and mouse. It's a 6-furlong race, 5-horse field. They may not go as fast early as they would in a larger field because everybody's just going to kind of look around and see where the others are. So I think this race can be kind of merry-go-round on the front end because of the field size. When you have a field of 5 or fewer, just the stats and trends tell you look for more speed. Horses closer to the lead do much better in these races than horses from further off the lead, and horses closer to the lead do better in these races than in races with bigger field sizes where there are more challenges. So I'm expecting Gilcrease to go near the front, if not right to the front under Leperoux, and be very strong. Julian's got the most wins of any jockey at Keeneland when we've got these short, tiny fields like this in 6-furlong sprint races. He's ridden them very well going back and looking through the database. So Gilcrease, my top choice in race number 4. We'll see what kind of price we can get. Elite Forces, Frosted Departure, other horses in here to consider. Fit the Flies, won 3 in a row coming from Ohio and Illinois. Another one is going to step up and take on a tougher circuit here, but certainly in very good form. Let's see race number 4 across the way. Elite Forces, top pick in here for Kate and Kim and Tom. Gilcrease, the top pick in here for me. So maybe you go just too deep in here. For us, a departure horse, probably not going to have the early speed. I don't think to necessarily win this 5-horse field. I've got him picked second as the most logical exacta horse to come rallying for second. So 2-1 exact in here, the way I like to see the race, but I could see the 3 elite forces being used if you're looking for 2 deep plays in the pick 4 and the pick 5. Let's go to the 5th race next up on the program. 5th race is the pick 6 starter and also the start of the Keeneland Turf pick 3. Keeneland Turf pick 3 on races 5, 7, and 9. And this is our second key play of the day. This is a 1 1/8 on the turf for maiden special weights. Now, we talked in the opening race about not having a lot of confidence at a 1 1/8 with non-winners and 2 lifetime claimers on the dirt. Those horses are in that kind of race because they're slow. At a 1 1/8 on the turf, I like horses with class, and I'm looking for a horse to really like the extended distance in here based on pedigree and her classy lines, and that is Ouden. And Ouden is a filly by Arrowgate out of Filimbi, and Filimbi was an excellent turf mare here at Keeneland. Again, this is a colt, I should say, but out of the mare Filimbi, and Filimbi was a filly who ran in big stakes races here at Keeneland, was right in there in all of them that she participated in. Loved the track here. So I'm looking for Filimbi's son in here, Ouden, to really like this this turf course going the 1 1/8 distance. Also the top pick for Caton. Also the top pick for Tom in here. Raise High is my second choice. That's going to be the top pick for Scott Hazelton. So Ouden, one of my key plays of the day. I think we'll get a fair price off a debut 6th place finish. Not a bad effort in the career debut, but an effort nonetheless that needs to be improved upon. But Bill Mott's horses are running decent here to start the meet. I thought he'd have one today that would run a little bit better than it did. Did not fire as well as I was expecting, but Mott on the turf at a 1.5 miles or 1 1/8, you certainly have to like your chances when you get into that kind of situation. So give me Ouden on top, Raise High, the horse underneath the watch. Raise High is by Noble Mission, another one who has a really good pedigree to like the turf here at Keeneland. Noble Mission, a really good turf sire here of runners on the grass. So Raise High, one to watch in terms of the pedigree. Ouden, Raise High, the top 2 I've got in race number 5. Again, that starts the pick 6. We had a pick 6 carryover on the Thursday card. No carryover, though, going into Friday. Let's go to the 6th race on the program as we get to the back half of this Friday card. It starts the late pick 5 begins here in race number 6. Late pick 5 races 6 through 10 on this kind of card. And Huge Bigley is going to be my top choice in here. This is a horse where I'm just drawing a line through the Saratoga turf race last time out and looking for this one to get back to the main track with some success. Prior to that, it run on the main at Oaklawn, at Churchill, in Southern California, in Northern California, in Washington, Delaware. This horse has been fairly consistent on the main track, but that turf race was not up to snuff going last time for 25,000 claiming at Saratoga. Robert Falcone claimed this one off Robertino Diodoro, and a lot of times you'd say, well, you're not going to move a horse up off of Robertino Diodoro, one of the higher percentage, high-octane trainers in America. But Robert Falcone hits at 30% first off the claim, and he is a very high percentage trainer as well on the NYRA circuit. So that he's bringing this one down here for the 16,000 claiming. You say, why are you coming all the way to Keeneland for a 16,000 claimer? The purse is $45,000 for these 16 claimers. I think Huge Bigley is going to enjoy the return to the main track in this particular spot. Luis Saez out of the 2 hole should get a good run into the first turn. Short run into the first turn, just a short stretch to worry about. This horse, when running as better races, is up there 1, 2, 3 into the clubhouse turn. So we'll know early whether or not Huge Bigley is probably going to fire here in Friday's 6th race. Also across the board, of course, with the other handicappers, Tom's got Huge Bigley as well, as does Kim. My Barely, the pick for Caton, and then Telephone Talker, the pick for Scott. So when you see me with 2, 3, 6, it's the other top picks from the other public handicappers in here. Telephone Talker, a horse who's got a 2nd place finish in 1 start here at Keeneland. Another one making a turf to dirt move. That one for Fausto Gutierrez. And a big class drop on the outside with My Barely. And My Barely is a horse who's run a couple times at Keeneland with 2/3 and a 4th place finish. Has run well over the track. So I don't look at Huge Bigley as a single in here. If you're playing multi-race wagers, I would use all 3. And the fact that my other handicapping brethren have the 2 horses I have underneath on top in their list, that tells me this is kind of the way you've got this race doped out. 2, 3, 6 in race number 6 to get us through the first leg of the late pick 5. Let's shift gears now and go to the 7th race. It's an allowance race at 1 1/16 on the turf. but it's an allowance race in name only. This is a stakes caliber race, not just a stakes caliber race, but maybe a grade 2, grade 3 kind of stakes race. Really strong field here in Keeneland's 7th race. And I think there's also a solid pace on. Not only do we have high quality horses, but I think we got a rather fast pace in here for the turf. So I'm going to look for a horse maybe coming from a bit off the pace from Kentucky Downs, and one who's moving kind of back up in class, making that positive progression of going from the allowance ranks, stepping up into another allowance race versus some of the other horses that are maybe looking for an easier spot. And that's why this is one of my key plays of the day. I'm going to Ocean Atlantique in here. Again, it's Mike Maker, the trainer. He's got second most turf wins of any trainer in Keeneland turf allowance races in the fall. Only Grand Motion has more than he does. No motion horses to worry about in this spot. Hot riding Tyler Gaffleone off his 3-win Thursday. But this horse, again, comes off a good second place finish last time out at Kentucky Downs. Didn't run well on the Naira circuit in the Manhattan or on a yielding turf in the Lure, but the Kentucky turf races are fairly good. Good one at Churchill and the Turf Classic when running 4th on Derby Day. And then really nice race last time out behind Wolfie's Dynagos, who's a stakes caliber runner in that race at Kentucky Downs and Allowance Company. We're going to take Ocean Atlantique, a horse who the trends lean to in here. We like the Kentucky Downs horses in Keeneland allowance races. We like the Mike Maker horses in Keeneland allowance races on the turf. And we've got the hot jockey in Tyler Gaffleone. So give me Ocean Atlantique. It's one of my key plays of the day in race number 7. Now, how do the other handicappers see this race? Let's look across the board in here. It's Ocean Atlantique for 3 of us. Tom, Caton, and myself are all on the 9. Kim's going to the also eligible portfolio company. Keep an eye on that one if it happens to draw into the field. Highest distinction, the top pick in here for Scott. And we said this is a stakes caliber race. Well, highest distinction certainly proves that. This is a horse coming off a win in the Baltimore Washington Turf Cup and the Oceanport at Monmouth and Pimlico, respectively, in the last 2 starts. Tis the Bombs in this race. Of course, he won the Bourbon Stakes at Keeneland back when he was a 2-year-old, and he's been a top-class horse really throughout his career. So this is a strong race. And Ocean Atlantique, again, the horse I picked here, this is the horse who ran 4th on Kentucky Derby Day in the Turf Classic on the undercard of the Derby. Injunction on the outside's got dirt stakes class form, a horse who ran in the ACAC, ran a good second in that race last October at Churchill on the dirt. So really high class company in race number 7. 8th race next up on the program. Let's get into that one where Genetics is the top pick for me and Caton. Genetics also gets some underneath play from the other public handicappers in here. Intricate, Enigmatic, and Carrera also gets top choices. So in the 8th race, it's a maiden special going a mile on the 16th where the 5 public handicappers have 4 different horses picked on top. So maybe this is a race where we can hold a little bit of a price. We're going back to Bill Mott here. Bill Mott and Joel Rosario teaming up with the Saratoga shipper Genetics. This is the $525,000 daughter of Tappet. I think the 7 furlongs twice in a row, and now she goes 2 sprints to a route. Good handicapping angle there. And with Mott, the longer the Motts go, typically the better. This one on pedigree out of a point given mare should like the longer trip. Good post position in the 4-hole, but they're probably going to have to catch Enigmatic, the 2. He's got a lot of speed, or she's got a lot of speed off that career debut because she bolted out of the gate at Kentucky Downs in decent fractions for a turf mile there from an outside post. Couldn't hold on that day, but now out of the 2-hole, much better post position for Enigmatic. I would expect the 2 to come out of there humming. The 1's got a little speed too. She's a rodeo queen, so curious to see how the pace shakes out here. I don't think Genetics is going to be super far off the pace, going 2 sprints to a route. Towards the outside, I don't see a ton of speed in the gate, maybe Plumeria. But again, that's another one going turf to dirt. And will the turf horses show speed? They don't always when they go to the dirt. Remembering on the far outside could show speed. This is a horse who comes out of a route race at Churchill for Michael McCarthy and adds blinkers. From the outside, Luis Saez, who's usually pretty aggressive. He's going to have to go probably from that outside post and with the addition of blinkers. But Genetics, a perfect trip for me, would be sitting maybe 4th going down the backstretch. In striking distance, you don't want to be coming from too far out of it, going a mile and a 16th here on the main track. But you can get a price in these kind of races. This is a 2-year-old dirt route where the average winner is, or I should say, these races don't produce the big prices. These are races that are fairly formful. So don't get too far off the tote board in this race. The average winner of these races, 2-year-old dirt route maiden specials, is just 7-2 odds, and favorites are 24 for 48 or 22 of 48, almost 50%. So keep it close to the vest. You see 3 of us picking genetics on top, 2 of us picking genetics on top. Everybody's got genetics in the top 4, top 3. If this horse is bet, don't worry about it. That's okay. I mean, we can deal with that in a race like this, where favorites win 22 of the 48 offered, and the average winner 7-2. We're not looking for a huge price on genetics, but if we can get a fair price and a decent trip, maybe 3rd, 4th down the backstretch, that'll be our play in there. To the 9th race we go next, and it's the final leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. It's also the Sycamore Stakes, Grade 3 here for $300,000. And where we talked about favorites being part of the profile in race number 8, those 2-year-old maiden specials on the dirt going long. Yeah, the favorites may have success there, but they haven't in the Sycamore, 1.5 miles on the turf in the 17 years of our Keeneland.com database. Just 2 winning favorites during that time. But 13 of the 17 winners during that time were 7-1 or less. So they're not favorites, but they're not big bombs. That's what you want as a bettor. These are beautiful betting races, right in that sweet spot where you can catch a nice price and try to knock a good win play out. Exactas, multi-race wagers may be a little tough because you want to go 3, 4, 5 deep and catch some of the logical players. But this is great for intra-race betting. Exactas, tries, supers. You get a fair price on the winner, and if you can get anything underneath at any value whatsoever, this is a chance with a good field size to get a big price in terms of your tries and supers. So let's look at that for this featured race, the Sycamore Stakes. The other big factor when you look at the trends of this race over the years, deep closers. The average winner of this race over the last 17 years, 6.5 lengths off the lead after the opening half mile. That's as big a closer profile as you're going to find probably in any situation at Keeneland. None of the 17 winners were closer than 1.5 lengths off the lead after the opening half mile. So chuck the speed, play some closers in here, and see what you can come up with in a race where horses from anywhere have been successful in the Sycamore. Over the last 4 years, the winners have come from Saratoga, Remington, Kentucky Downs, and Churchill Downs. So don't lean on, say, oh, this is a race for the Naira horses or this is a race for the Kentucky Downs horses. Find yourself a good closer who likes the course in here, and I think you might have the winner. And I'm going to take one who I think will be off the pace in limited liability because I know he likes the track here at Keeneland. 2 for 2 lifetime, barely got there both times, deep closing races in allowance company, but now makes the step up into class after some good races around the country. So limited liabilities run in allowance races at Keeneland, but it's shown to be stakes class at other venues. The Louisville Handicap, a good 3rd at Churchill Downs. Last time out in the United Nations, ran a nice even 4th at Monmouth. Monmouth has a very speed-favoring turf course as turf courses go. Not many turf courses really play to front speed as well as Monmouth does. So limited liability was not in the right kind of race and situation last time out in the Grade 1 UN. I think this race is going to play much better at 1.5 miles, slower pace, a turf course where you can rally into. I like limited liability for Shug McGahee. Johnny V rides. What a great opening week with 5 wins Johnny V had. Shug McGahee with the winner on the card on Thursday. So let's see if his barn's not going to lift up and maybe score back-to-back days. I'm going limited liability as my top choice in the Sycamore Stakes. As for my handicapping brethren across the way, it's Red Knight on top for Scott, Therapist for Tom. Caton also has Therapist. And the Old Eclipse Award-winning Champ Channel Maker, already a stakes winner here at Keeneland in the spring meet in yesteryear. Tried to do it in the fall as well. Kim Nelson's top pick there on the veteran Channel Maker, an earner of nearly $4 million. Excellent renewal of the Sycamore Stakes. Tawny Port is a horse who used to be a dirt horse on the Triple Crown scene, Kentucky Derby 7th place finisher, but he's kind of become a turf marathoner in his most recent starts. Tawny Port, an interesting runner. I've got thrown in there 3rd. Scott's got him 2nd. There are some ways you can go, and there are some good options in this race. Not one of my key plays of the day because I think there are multiple ways that you can look. And, of course, Bold Act. I've gotten this far into the race and haven't mentioned Charlie Appleby and Godolphin with Bold Act. I mean, they had Master of the Seas almost win the Grade 1 Coolmore Turf Mile over the weekend. Just came up a nose short and just a fabulous performance to be beaten in that race by Up to the Mark, the Todd Pletcher trainee. So Bold Act would be absolutely no surprise at all. This is a Group 2 placed runner in France making the U.S. unveiling. Appleby, anything he sends off the plane has to be respected. Jamie Spencer rides. Spencer, maybe everything he rides doesn't need to be respected. He's had a tumultuous career riding in the United States, if we're being polite. He's had some really high-profile races where his riding decisions were highly criticized by the racing masses and media. So Jamie Spencer hopefully gets a good trip for his mountain here, Bold Act, for trainer Charlie Appleby. Of course, getting geared up with that Godolphin Blue and Appleby for the Breeders' Cup in a couple of weeks. Wide open edition of the Sycamore. Give me the horse coming from off the pace, getting a more preferable course this time than to what we saw at Monmouth last time. And that's where I'm going to go with my top choice in the Sycamore Stakes. We're going to try to get limited liability to a 3-for-3 perfect mark here at Keeneland. Let's wrap things up in the 10th and final race. And I'm going to go to a pair of Offspring by Union Rags in here. This is a 6-furlong claiming race. We talked about Union Rags in the opener with a potential winner on the main track. He's got two in here that I think are the top two choices for me. Herd Immunity and Nepotism. They're 5-1, 8-1 on the morning line, respectively. Mike Tomlinson trains Herd Immunity, and that's the one I'm going to lean to in here. Tomlinson is sneaky good with his horses running at Keeneland, especially as the meet gets a little bit later. I know we're only into week 2 here, but you get to week 3, week 4 in the fall. Tomlinson has a great record of popping some horses in here. He saves them to try to get past the really toughies at the Keeneland meet. This is only a $20,000 claimer, so it's week 2, but it comes up in the condition book. And I think it's a spot where Tomlinson and Rocco, who team up, excellent over the years together, percentage-wise, I think this is a good combo. So I'm going with Herd Immunity, the first of 2 different Union Rags horses. I think he's going to like Keeneland in his debut over the track here at Keeneland. Now, the horse right next to him, Nepotism, another by Union Rags. I know he's going to like the Keeneland main track. He's 2 for 2 here locally. Steve Asmussen trains now. This horse was claimed away from the Scherer family a couple starts back, and Asmussen's had him for 2 runs. His son Keith is riding and has ridden him to 2 third-place finishes at Ellis and Indiana. So we'll see. Nepotism should fit okay. In terms of speed, neither one of these 2 horses has a ton of early speed. So at 6.5 furlongs, we're going to need some pace to come back to them. But I'm going with Herd Immunity, Nepotism, one of the 2 Union Rags to get up here with a rallying finish over 6.5 furlongs. Nepotism, top pick for Kate and Bradar in here as well. Emerald Express, the 6 horse in here, top pick for both Kim and for Scott. Emerald Express, a horse making a big class drop. Claimed for $50,000, 2 starts to go by Luis Ramirez. Claimed off the Randy Morse barn. Didn't do anything at all for $40,000 at Churchill last time. Now makes the big drop down to 20. So claim, drop, now a second drop for Emerald Express. But they do get Luis Saez to ride. That never hurts here at Keeneland, and Emerald Express has a second-place finish over the track in one of 2 starts here locally. Those are the picks for the Friday card, Friday the 13th. Tricks, treats, you decide. We'll find out when the results start to roll in on Friday's card. Again, first post is at 1 o'clock Eastern. Be sure to check out Scott and Caton with the Keeneland Today program on the simulcast feed and at Keeneland.com streaming at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. They'll give you the Clockers report, the long shot play of the day from Tom Leach, all their selections and what they're looking for. Up-to-date weather conditions. Supposed to be a beautiful day. Temps in the low 80s in Lexington, Kentucky. So it should be a fabulous day for racing. Perfect conditions on the racetrack for the horses. How the track's going to play speed closers, I don't know. This has been a tough read so far, this meet. But, you certainly, if you like a horse from off the pace, do not be afraid to dive in, especially when there's a pace setup. Rungis was one of our top picks of the day today, and he was going to be coming from the clouds. But the race looked like it would set up for a closer, and he rallied from far back and just ended up missing by a nose, closing up the rail. So, remember, race shape is way more important than track bias, I think. So if a race sets up where there's no speed, take the speed horses. If a race sets up with too much speed, then take the come from behind types. Race shape, to me, the most important factor in all of handicapping. We'll be back tomorrow night on Friday night to look at the Saturday card that includes the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, a phenomenal international cast coming in for that race on Saturday. I've already got my picks up on the Keeneland.com website for Friday, so be sure to check them out. And if you'd like to get my stuff sent to you to your email inbox, we'd like to invite you to check us out on Substack. So go to Substack, and where's my Substack one? Here we go. Go to Substack, jeremyplonk.substack.com, and sign up there for the free email newsletter, and I'll send you my handicapping thoughts each and every day of the Keeneland meet. And then when the meet's over, we'll send you handicapping information as well, free of charge with Substack. Be sure to sign up for that today. That's going to wrap things up. We'll be back tomorrow night. Good luck tomorrow on the Friday.